Hi, I'm Grace Laudick, and this is Educating Ourselves in These Difficult Times on ThinkTech Hawaii. Today, we will be discussing the transformation of education since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic at a community college in Washington and some of the challenges facing students and educators today. My guest is Amanda Landro, a student at a community college in Bremerton, Washington, who is a sophomore working towards her associate's degree with an emphasis in kinesiology. On campus, she is a member of Pi Theta Kappa, an international honor society of two-year colleges and academic programs. She also works as a teacher for toddlers at the Gateway Learning Center. Today, she will be sharing her experiences as a college student and educator in Washington and give us some insight into what college life looks like this semester and how her state is approaching the pandemic. Thank you for being a guest on my show today, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So to start off with our show today, some of our audience members might not be familiar with Olympic College. Could you take a moment to please share with us a little bit about Olympic College?
Yeah, so Olympic College is a small, mostly two-year university, like an hour west of Seattle. We do offer some four-year programs like mechanical engineering and nursing. However, most of it, like I said, is a two-year degree program kind of school. And it's very nice considering how small it is and the county that it's in. It's a very, very good school, well sought after. Yeah.
I think that we also have some pictures to show of Olympic College as well. Could you share a little bit about what these pictures are showing?
We got new buildings, which is fantastic. So we have great amenities and equipment for sciences and the nursing program, as well as the arts facilities, which I don't have pictured, but our campus is beautiful, rain or shine. It's actually very pretty.
As we mentioned earlier, you are currently pursuing your associate's degree with an emphasis in kinesiology. I know that many health science majors are required to do labs, clinicals, or practicals. Has that been the case for you in your degree program?
It hasn't just yet, as I'm doing my prerequisites right now to go into the more advanced and hands-on classes. So at the moment, most of my classes are more textbook knowledge rather than hands-on learning. Although this coming quarter, I will be taking biochem online. So that will be interesting, learning how to navigate the biochem lab online.
Since the start of the pandemic, it's definitely been a huge shift for both students and educators alike. I'm interested in knowing how your educational journey has been transformed since the spring of 2020. Did your school go to an immediate online format? Was it gradual, or are you still in person or hybrid?
Well, when the first shift happened, it took a couple days during our finals week, leading up to our finals week. Everything turned online. We were going to have the last Monday in person to do finals, and then it ended up all being online. So that was, threw everybody a curveball. But this quarter, they have been working really hard to make sure the campus is safe and clean, since some of the students there have gotten COVID. They are opening up in-person classes, mostly just for the medical field, such as nursing, which is really our only medical field that you can go straight into working.
Mm-hmm. What has been the transformation to an online classroom been like for you? And what have been some of the greatest challenges for you in acclimating to that different format?
It has been somewhat challenging, although I was familiar with the software that we use to conduct classes. I'm not very tech savvy, so when it came to technical errors and submitting projects or research papers, it was kind of frustrating trying to figure that out while having teachers who really like their weekends not answer their phones or their emails. So it was difficult.
Would you say that at Olympic College, there are technical resources for students to turn to in the event of such technical issues?
There are, and they've been so helpful. If, I can't complete a tuition payment due to some sort of error, they're right on it, and they are great with helping all the students, because this is the time when if something goes wrong technical wise, like it's kind of a big deal.
It has surely been a challenge for all of us to try to adopt to this new format of learning. For this upcoming semester, what will the on-campus life look like? Have they released any statements on what types of rules that they expect students to abide by and how campus life is going to be conducted?
So the admissions at Olympic College, they've kind of gone back and forth between in-person classes for a while now, and they've just now decided that they will allow certain classes to meet in person. However, students who go to these classes in person, they will have to socially distance and wear a mask at all times while indoors, which is pretty standard for being in Washington. That's our statewide policy now: wear a mask indoors and stay 6 feet apart.
Mhm. There's been some headlines on the news in regards to people who aren't compliant with wearing masks, or even certain regions of the United States where people don't like to follow the rules of social distancing and mask wearing because of political beliefs. Have you noticed a similar sentiment in Washington and in the area that you're living?
Um, Most people in my area are pretty resentful of the masks. However, I would say like 99% of the population is very compliant and understanding that there is an authority and they do say wear masks, and they are willing to do that so that they can go back to work, so their children can go back to school.
Especially in areas like colleges where there are people coming from many different regions, would you say that the same sentiment applies for your college campus as well, since there's such a mix of different backgrounds and cultures coming into one place?
Yeah, it's been a challenge in some cases. There are definitely certain populations that refuse, but others that they really don't mind. It's part of their culture growing up.
Mhm. What kind of policies and rules has your school implemented to ensure that people are following the rules while on campus?
Nothing new to the Washington policy on COVID. Just as I said, wear masks and socially distance. Our school has upgraded their cleaning supplies, so more heavy duty cleaning solutions and applications.
Mhm. What does the COVID-19 situation look like in Washington today? I remember during the spring, there were a lot of headlines that the hospitals were overcrowded in Washington and that the pandemic almost seemed to be out of control during the spring. Has it calmed down in Washington since then?
I believe so. I haven't heard much talk of it. Um, I'm not too into the news, but in Kitsap County, there haven't been too many cases, and most of them are fine. They go through treatment well, or they go home just to rest while they fight off the virus. We've only had less than 5 COVID deaths, so it's a pretty good track record for a county of my size.
That is an excellent track record. Despite the excellent track record, do you have any hesitations about going back to school this semester? And if so, is Olympic College providing an option for students to stay online if they so choose to?
Personally, I'm not very hesitant. I've been very excited to go back in person, and I've been working through the whole pandemic. We haven't closed our doors once because parents need to go to work. They need to provide money for their children. They can eat and go to school. So I'm glad to say that we haven't closed our doors at work, but at Olympic College, it's a little different. Everything went online for the spring and summer quarters. But in the coming quarters, I believe that they plan to keep half of their classes online and then half in person, so that you can have the option as a student to either go inside and go to your classes in person or stay home and continue online learning.
Mm. Have you decided to go back to school fully in person, or will you be doing a mix for this upcoming semester?
Since I started my schooling at Olympic College, I've been doing a mix just because it works perfectly with my work schedule. If I take another class in person, then I don't really have enough time to go to work and, you know, make money for myself. So I've been doing a mix, at least one class online per quarter.
Mhm. I'm also interested in learning a little bit about what the environment has been like at your workplace. I would like to know about your perspectives, especially as a teacher who's trying to teach toddlers at the Gateway Learning Center. How has the environment changed at the Gateway Learning Center since the spring semester?
Since the spring semester, it's been a challenge. We went from having 160 plus kids a day to, at the beginning of COVID, to maybe 20 or 30. And now we're maybe up to 50 or 75 as parents are now feeling safe enough to go to work and put their children in childcare. So we have implemented more strict cleaning regimens. We clean in the morning before the kids get there. We clean at nap time, which is a lot of cleaning, and then we clean as we close. So there's always cleaning going on, which is nice for the kids and reassuring for the parents. And by state law, all the children over 5 years old have to wear masks while they're inside. So it's been a challenge with our wildfires this past week and a half, where we can't let our kids outside due to the poor air quality. So all the kids who are 5 and above have to wear masks for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of rough.
Especially for toddlers below the age of 5, they might not necessarily understand what's going on or about the importance of staying clean, staying distance from other people, and wearing a mask. In those events, how do you handle situations in which children don't understand the importance of abiding by these rules?
Most of our kids are well aware of what's going on. In the first, I believe it was first 2 months, we have some kids and they would play tag outside and they would call it the sickness game. So they would run around playing the sickness game, and one kid had the sickness, and when he tagged someone else, they also had the sickness. But if they were far enough apart, they didn't get the sickness. And so I think that they know what's going on. And most of my toddlers come into school wearing a mask just because the air quality is so poor that their parents don't want them being as exposed to all the chemicals in the air at the moment. So they're pretty familiar with wearing a mask, and they see their parents grocery shopping and picking them up, dropping them off with masks on.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to continue this discussion with you about your experiences at the Gateway Learning Center and as a student at Olympic, but in a moment, we'll actually be taking a short break, Amanda. Again, I'm Grace Laudick, and you are watching Educating Ourselves in These Difficult Times on ThinkTech Hawaii. We will be back shortly.
Aloha, I'm Christine Linders, a physical therapy specialist and the host of Movement Matters. My show is designed to teach you the simplest and most effective treatment strategies to get you out of pain and back to doing what you love. If you or someone you know is having pain in a certain area of the body and would like a free assessment in treatment over media or in person, and then come on the show to talk about it, email us at thinktechmovementmatters@gmail.com. Or if you have a topic you would like to know more about, please email us. My goal is to decrease pain all over the world, inspiring people to take better care of their bodies to enjoy life to the fullest. I look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Educating Ourselves in These Difficult Times on ThinkTech Hawaii with my special guest, Amanda Landro. Prior to our break, we were talking about your experiences as a toddler teacher at the Gateway Learning Center, and I'd like to know a little bit more about some of your experiences as a teacher since the COVID-19 pandemic has started. You mentioned prior to our break that students under the age of 5 don't have to wear masks. I was wondering, as a result of this, have there been any cases of COVID-19 at the Gateway Learning Center?
I'm happy to say that there have been no outbreaks at any daycare in the state of Washington. We do a pretty good job keeping the kids and families clean and ourselves safe and healthy.
Wow, that is an impressive track record. Have there been any moments where you didn't feel comfortable working there because you are exposed to children who aren't always wearing masks?
No, not at all. I've done my research before, and I know that children are, they don't spread COVID. It's very rare that a child will spread COVID. So I think I'm working in one of the safest industries in Washington at the moment, which is nice.
I'm reassured to know that you feel comfortable as well. In the upcoming quarters, especially at the Gateway Learning Center, do they plan on making any alterations to the format of the curriculums or the children coming in? Have you guys provided any alternatives for students that might not want to come in every day?
We, at the beginning of COVID, we didn't get enough students to keep our doors open as long as we normally did. We normally were open 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But since COVID, we took like an hour and a half off of our start time and our closing time. So that was an adjustment for parents and staff alike. Parents had to hang out with their kids a little longer in the morning and a little longer at night, but we had to do what we had to do to keep our heads above the water at work. And I honestly forgot the last part of your question.
It's all right. We actually did have a couple of questions come in from our live viewers. And the first question that we had from a viewer is, how have the large fires affected you, your school, and your area?
In our area, we don't have any major fires. There's, I want to say, 2 major fires, at least 30 miles southeast of us. So in Tacoma, there's one on the Army base, and then I believe there's one down at the state capitol, and then the rest are further east towards the Cascade Mountains. But we've had very poor air quality. It came in Thursday night, so we've had to keep the kids inside last Friday, yesterday, and today. And it looks like we will be keeping them inside all day for the rest of the week. So hopefully we will be able to find a business that will open their doors to us, like an indoor gym, like a play center for the kids, because currently they're stuck with the same toys that they've been playing with for like a while now. So hopefully we can get that worked out so that they can fine-tune their gross motor skills.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any statements released by Olympic College about the air quality or the fires potentially affecting school or the start date of school?
There's been no notification about it since most classes are in person and they have AC units which purify the air. So if students do have in-person classes this quarter, it shouldn't be a problem.
I'd like to delve a little bit back into your school life and your experiences as a student during this challenging time. I understand that it hasn't just been COVID-19, but there's also been national events, whether it be the large wildfires or the Black Lives Matter movement, and just an overall transformative shift in the focus on education and how education is being conducted today. One of the questions we actually had from our live viewers is, are students active in protests like BLM at Olympic College? And have there been increased efforts to educate students in these issues?
Some students have participated in the Black Lives Matter movement. It's not very big here just because there's really very little crime, I feel like. And if it is, it's drug use or drug production in our area. So it's kind of a hard issue to really grab a hold of and understand. But in our area, we have a couple of reservations, Indian reservations, and tied into our Black Lives Matter movement has been an Indigenous people matter. So it's Black Lives and Indigenous People's Lives Matter movement in my county at least. So there have been fewer protests on Black Lives Matter than there have been for Indigenous people. A couple weeks ago, it was every single day there was a protest in like right around the area that I work. So it was kind of hard, making sure that we keep our kids safe and calm if there's anything that's kind of frightening in them because they go right past our road.
Would you describe Olympic College and the area that you generally live in as relatively racially and culturally diverse?
I would think so. Yeah.
Would you say that there are discussions or classes at Olympic College to talk about racial and cultural issues facing students today?
There are. I haven't taken one just because I'm going to school for my career choice of occupational therapy. So in these, I believe that if you are a respectful and responsible individual, there's really no need for those. I might be going out on a limb there, but be kind to everyone is really like a golden rule for everything.
I know that growing up, you were also a military child as well, and that you've gone to schools in many regions, not only in the United States, but also outside of the US as well. During your travels as a military child, have there been any instances where you experienced racism or cultural discrimination, especially in the educational system?
Not that I can think of. I mean, traveling the world, it's interesting seeing other people see a blonde-haired and blue-eyed girl and they want to take a picture with you. I was like, what? That's weird. For me, growing up in the US, it's normal, but overseas, it's not.
Do you think that these experiences that you had overseas have transformed the way in which you look at your education today? Perhaps do you look at the way in which they talk about cultural issues with a more critical eye?
I believe I do because I understand at least somewhat in the Middle Eastern culture that there is, in fact, a lot of racism that most people wouldn't think about because they're not necessarily white. So when I understand that and I read some headlines,
Have you seen any instances of this perhaps at even the school that you're working at the Gateway Learning Center? I think that's something that people often overlook is that racism isn't just an issue observed merely for adults, and that students can experience this at very young ages as well. Have you seen any instances of that play out as a toddler teacher?
I haven't. We have children from every ethnicity and every culture. Many of our families are military families, so they've moved around and they know other people of other ethnicities and cultures, and we do our best to teach the kids to be kind and respectful, to make sure that they apologize if they say something or do something mean. We're just teaching them how to be a good adult, basically.
Mhm. Going along the lines of culture, I understand that COVID-19 has greatly changed the idea of college culture and what it's like being a college student during these challenging times. Especially with the shift to an online learning format, how has Olympic College tried to retain some college experience and allowing students to experience that feeling of college culture?
Many students that I know and interact with occasionally, they are not part of student clubs or student activities, but they continue to meet with their regular friend groups. Nothing has been super crazy here, so it's not like they're breaking the law or anything. Yeah, life has pretty much continued as normal over here. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier we mentioned that you were a part of a club, an international honor society at your college called Pi Theta Kappa. For that particular club, did you all have meetings together regularly?
Meetings are optional, which is nice because I'm usually at work when they're going on. But yeah, they're optional, and if not, you can always tune in online if you feel you might be at risk of getting COVID or the flu, since the flu season's coming up. They've done a great job of making things accessible to students who want to online.
Especially as a student and an educator during this challenging time, do you have any words of advice for any college students or people who are in the education industry that might be struggling with some of the challenges during this time?
If you're a student and you're struggling, ask for help, because it might take a while for professors to respond, but it'll be much better to just ask for help when you need it rather than not know that you need help. And then for professors, keep doing what you're doing because it's hard no matter what. Yeah, that's it.
It was a pleasure having you on my show today, Amanda, and I'm really glad that we had this opportunity to discuss some of your experiences that you had both as a student and educator. So I just wanted to say thank you, Amanda. And I also wanted to thank you, my audience, for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. This wraps up our show for today. Aloha.